Webster. Welcome to the ASTUTE podcast.
Thanks for having me, Vince.
How are you, mate?
And Grace.
Hi, Sonny.
Yeah, very well, mate.
Welcome.
Been better out of lockdown, but
Well,
good.
Keep moving along as best we can. Well, this is awkward. I already know you. But that's okay. We'll pretend we don't know you and ask you an icebreaker question, which Grace has asked me to incorporate into our
I
questions.
just need an icebreaker. Like,
Okay.
you know
Fine.
Sonny, I know Sonny pretty well,
Fine,
but not
fine.
as well as you do.
Fine. No, I've seen me
Go
and
for
Sonny
it.
have never been this formal in our lives, I don't think.
No, we should chat about how me and you met, because I was saying to Callum before we were heading over here about how me and you met and our relationship, and you were like the first guy when I moved over to Australia to reach out and go, come on in, mate, I'll look after you, show you about...
Tell the people the story.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, when I first came over, which was 2 years ago now, didn't know anyone, didn't know what gyms to train at, etc. And Vince had reached out on social media and just said, look, if you need a place to train, come down to my place in the city. And that was kind of like my hub for the first at least 6 months to a year of being in Sydney, was working in the front of Ion.
Never left. And here
That's
we are.
crazy. How did you know about Sonny, though?
I can't remember. I think it would have been through James. I think they were hanging out.
Who's
And
James?
James
Oh,
Smith.
James Smith,
James Smith,
right.
and he had already been. He was already filming some of his gym stuff, some of his academy stuff out of the gym, and I think that you guys were just hanging out.
Yeah.
And then one thing led to another, and then Sonny was filming the mobility manual.
Yeah, that's crazy. So
Mobility manual, remember
my
that?
best product that I sell online was filmed in Vince's gym on my iPhone
Oh
in
my
between
gosh.
classes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you're not using the same assets that you did in Ion.
No,
to this
he
day?
was.
Or
He
you
was
are?
up until COVID.
Yeah.
Up until the first lockdown, right?
Yeah,
Crazy.
up until even sorting that about 3 months ago. That was been the stuff that we used to sell over 15, 20,000 mobility manuals now.
That's awesome.
And we're going to get into that about how you've kind of transitioned from 2016, Rio.
Yeah.
Did the Olympics, got that out of the way, life goal unlocked. And then from there, so when did you get over to Australia? I can't remember now.
Yeah, it's crazy because, 2016, the Olympics for me feels like a lifetime ago now, especially with the Olympics going on in Tokyo, and I'm seeing lots of people that I met in the Olympics going again, and kind of all those emotions come back up about what it was like traveling into the village and, that preparation before the competition. And do you know what? Looking at people doing it now, I don't have any feel towards it or feel like I wish I was there at all, because it's kind of like, it was a big tick off. I did my thing there, and on to next.
You remember the sacrifice and the commitment required for when you were training for it, right?
Yeah, I started weightlifting when I was 11 years old. So for me, that whole journey from there up until 2016 was a windy road to that one moment, and people don't see that. And that's one of the things I think it's so difficult for athletes, especially. There's not many athletes out there that, really show their lives on social media, show the sacrifice, show their hard training sessions and show their journey, which is why I think that afterwards people don't have any conception as to what that person's gone through for that one moment.
The 2 weeks.
100%.
The 2 weeks at the big stage, right, basically.
Yeah, and everything before is kind of like neglected. No one thinks about that, and then you're like, you've put this person on a pedestal for their 2 weeks of their life, and then afterwards no one cares again.
Serious
Yeah.
depression, like a full pit after
Yeah.
it.
They call it Olympic blues, and it's definitely
It's a thing, right?
Yeah.
And
How
You go.
long after that did you come to Australia?
So I finished obviously Olympics 2016, and then I went on a couple of different holidays to Vegas, to Marbella with my friends, just like let loose for 3 months. Just everything that, from probably 2012, after missing out on that Olympics in 2016, I really scaled back everything else I did in my life just to purely focus on my training, because there's nothing more that I wanted than on that day at the Olympics to be like, I've done everything I possibly could do to be in my best shape possible.
Yeah.
And that way, regardless of what the result would have been, I could have been like, I tried my hardest, that was that. So I certainly made up for it after the Olympics. And it was, before then I was already doing seminars, but as you can imagine, there was a much more greater demand for my weightlifting seminars post the Olympics. So I started traveling a lot between 2016 and 2018, just around Europe and into America to do a few seminars. But Australia had always been something on the hit list that I'd wanted to come and do. And, I think for a lot of athletes, it's difficult to start reaching out globally to do seminars, because you can be a popular athlete in your country, but to go to the other side of the world and there be a demand that people are going to pay to see you is a completely different ball game. So I purposely held off on that trip to Australia for a year or two for there to be enough demand so that when I came here, I knew I could sell seminars out. And I ended up doing 24 seminars in 8 weeks when I came over here, and it was a whirlwind.
When did you, what's the time? I can't remember. I kind of remember seeing your content going viral on Instagram with the crazy lifts you were doing. What year, when did that kind of start taking off?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the Olympics, I think I had 30,000 followers when I was at the Olympics.
So you went into the Olympics with followers already?
Yeah, but obviously very minimal compared to now. And I'd say it was in 2017, 2016 when I was doing these seminars that when I was doing the crazy complexes, people were really like enjoying watching them. And I think it's purely down to the fact that if you follow any sport or any industry, you're so conditioned to seeing a certain type of lift. Everyone's seen a crazy Russian guy snatch a weight that they can't comprehend, and you scroll through your feed and it's all much of the muchness. Yeah. Whereas when I was doing these complexes, they were with lighter weights, they were with different to what people were used to seeing. And I used to entice people to give them a go as well. And I think, you know, people connected with that because they felt they could try and do the same thing that I was doing, even though it wasn't at the same weight. So it definitely reached a lot of people and gained a lot of traction when I was doing
Did
those.
you get any when you went onto social media and started doing the more fun and interesting lifts? Was there, I've never asked you this question, so it's the first time, right? Was there kind of blowback from the traditional weightlifting scene, thinking that you were kind of turning it into more of a circus? Then I know it's very, the whole, and we're definitely not going to get into this in this podcast, but the whole weightlifting thing is, it's very, very, it's just very conservative. It's an old boys club. I don't give a shit. I couldn't care less if the AWF don't like me. Go fuck yourselves. I actually don't care. What are you going to do? Not accredit me? So I've just heard lots of stuff about AWF. I know nothing about in the UK, but, you know, did you get people that kind of gave you that heat back because, you know, you were doing things that are not traditional? Like when you came into Iron, one of the first or second times you came with Aaron and you did those suicide cleans, right? That complex. Yeah. You know, you'd never do that in training.
What does that look like? Right? Sorry.
Just letting go of the bar, catching it on your shoulders, and then flinging
stuff
it up
that you would never do in training, right? Stuff that you would never kind of do. But it does get, it gets you insta famous. Yeah. Right?
I think the thing for me and what a lot of people didn't realize was everything that I do on social media is very calculated. I'm doing something to gain a particular reaction, and that was to gain enough engagement so that my following would grow, because ultimately I want to reach more people.
Because it makes it share worthy, right?
Yeah, and I think where a lot of weightlifters fell down or missed out on the opportunity when CrossFit arose was that they really hated on CrossFit and the fact that there was people using weightlifting moves and performing them with bad technique, and they just thought, you know, we're going to go after all these CrossFitters and take the mickey out of them. Whereas I saw this as an opportunity. It's like, wow, you've got now millions, thousands more people now participating and trying Olympic weightlifting that don't have any great direction or coaching. This is my opportunity to be a figurehead in, you know, in the fact that I'll be the one that will stand out there and go, I don't expect these people to be great at weightlifting right now. They've only been doing it a year. I'm going to help you. And growing the
sport at its grassroots, like any good sporting organisation does. I think that's why, you know, I look at my nephews and they both play football, and they play a couple of other sports. But you look at how much money is invested at a grassroots level to develop. It's like a turf war, right? When a kid is 10 years old, what sport is he going to pick? And weightlifting has been traditionally horrible with that. Yeah, and they had that. There's still the opportunity there to grow that CrossFit market, where it's not just...
You mean with kids or just in
not
general?
Not so much with kids, more so like your 15, 16-year-old that's just joined the gym, that has started CrossFit or functional training, if we want to call it that, and kind of introducing them to weightlifting. But I remember, like, personal experience, you know, to speak about, and I hope the guy's listening, actually. I remember when I was doing CrossFit back in yesteryear.
I couldn't imagine you
doing CrossFit. Back when I used to do CrossFit, but obviously weightlifting was one of my favourite things to do because I'm not exactly built for gymnastics. Yeah. Right? So, but I remember going to trying to get better at a snatch, and I remember calling. Should I say? No, I shouldn't say.
Name redacted.
No. Calling a place in Sydney Olympic Park.
Yeah.
And you know, I was doing CrossFit. I was doing at a local box and I wanted to get better at a snatch because it was horrible at snatching, right? I remember calling, Googling the place, and they're a very, very well-known Olympic weightlifting school that teaches people that what's it called? Accredited with New South Wales, AWF, all that kind of stuff. And all I said was, I want to learn how to do, wasn't a snatch, overhead squats. I want to get better at overhead squats because that's obviously one of the movements in a lot of the WODs, right? And he said, "What's that?" He just spoke to me like I was a piece of shit, right? I said, "Because dude, I know nothing about weightlifting. I don't know that you have panda pools and these and all these things." He just assumed, but that kind of pig-headedness from a head coach. I actually think he's on the AWF board. Yeah. So all the best with that, brother.
But that's the thing, and that attitude is what, gives almost a lot of weightlifting gyms a bad name and a stigma behind it because they're not notoriously welcoming.
And which is wildly different. And if you look at it as a pound for pound comparison, is wildly different to BJJ.
Yeah.
Right? You look at how many people have adopted Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's because there is no ego and everyone is good enough to start, right?
Yeah, and that's what's inviting for a lot of places. And it was what was inviting for me when I came and decided where I do my seminars. I knew to do them at CrossFit gyms because they are so welcoming, and the people that do want to attend at those places are open to learning.
Yeah.
There'd be a lot of weightlifting gyms that I could teach a lot of good things about in Olympic weightlifting, but they would never want to listen to me because of my approach,
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember when we were at ION and you got that letter. You told me, I remember the UCAD sent you that letter saying that you got sent an email from someone that was attending your seminars saying that if they attended your seminar, that would UCAD said that would jeopardize their ability to compete in sanctioned weightlifting.
Yeah, I think, and again, a lot of that came from the fact that I was doing something different that a lot of other people hadn't done before in terms of...
Well, you're making money, first and
making
foremost,
money and creating an audience and, going around delivering seminars. Not a lot of weightlifters had done that before, and it definitely rubbed people the wrong way because they felt as though that it should have been them. But, it's like anything, in business, people will say, I could have done that.
Yeah, I should have done that.
Well, you didn't.
But you didn't. Yeah, that's right.
And it does get people the wrong way, but I think that's where you have to focus on what your own goals are and what your own focus is and what the benefit of it is for the people.
And how's that kind of all transferred over to since 2018 when we met? How's that transfer? Obviously, you came over to Australia. You sold out the seminars at the CrossFit gyms. Try to remember, you started filming some online content to try to monetize the mobility manual and started the academy. And then from there, you met Lyndall. And then you went on a little bit of a whirlwind tour with Lyndall, and you came back. I think I've got a timeline right, and then kind of all started really taking off. How's that transformed into the academy now?
Yeah, I think it was a natural progression for me from doing the face-to-face seminars to trying to build something online. Because at the end of the day, when I was doing a seminar, I could only service 30 people at once, and there was a lot more people that wanted my help and support out there. So it was natural for me to want to take my products online. But it's something that's very difficult to do. And I definitely didn't appreciate that at the start. And there's a lot of people that have a lot of great knowledge out there that will never take their product online because it's not as easy as just getting a web page and off you go now. So much more comes into play. And when I first started selling programs, I create a PDF document like everyone does. I put a swipe up on my story saying, if you want to get a program from me, swipe up here.
And it worked. Initially, it worked.
Yeah, right. But I was so my process to sale was they would message me. I'd say, what's your email address? I'd then send them out an email that say, this is the program. They'd send one back saying, yep, I want to buy the program. I'd send them another one saying, here's how to pay. And then I'd get them to email me their confirmation, and then I would send them out their thing.
You were doing that all yourself on emails?
I was sending 150 emails a day for this process. Yeah. And I thought I was killing it. I'd probably made about 30,000 Aussie dollars. I thought, this is great.
Yeah.
No one else was selling weightlifting programs at the time. And then I got a call off one of my business partners now, Cam, and he said, I've seen you've been selling these programs. I think I can help automate it. And I was like, what do you mean automate it? I've got my process on
you're
lockdown.
I know all these people by name and address now.
Yeah.
So hard to shift into automated.
And then within probably, he just said, leave it with me. And then 6 hours later, he sent me back a click funnel, a sales funnel for my program. And he explained it all to me, and I was like, so you mean now I just give this to people and they get sent it automatically? And it blew my mind, and that was like my first kind of realization that there was certain ways in which you can sell your products online in a much more efficient way, and obviously reach the masses. And that's even before.
Do you find reach is in sacrifice of that personal touch and attention though?
To a degree, yes, but I think what's important with, there's always got to be levels to the service that you offer. And, first of all, that starts out as the very base level in freebies, in emails, in what we do every day in social media. And then to the first paid products that are very low level, the PDF, the one-off programs that people buy. But then we also
which don't deserve your personal attention. Paying $20 or $30 for a PDF. Let's face it, we live in a world now where people expect, Sonny Webster's WhatsApp number where they can call you. They don't realize that at scale, if 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 people buy that $20 PDF, that you physically isn't enough hours in the day.
Yeah,
right?
But this is where, as an athlete, as a coach, as a business person, you have to put a price on your time.
Yeah.
And once things go to scale, you have to really, rather than sell your soul for $20, there has to be levels to the service that you offer. So, we go from that to a subscription model where people can get feedback on their lifts, which is delivered by one of my certified coaches, and then to get actual direction and feedback from me, that's our high ticket.
Yep.
And we only service 25 people of those a month.
Which weeds out I wouldn't call them time wasters, but it prices people out, right?
It prices people out, but it also gives opportunity for everyone to play. Whether you've only got $20 to invest in your progress and someone's got $10,000, there's a service for both people.
Yeah, it's a nice way of looking at it. Right?
If you trust your coaches, like with their expertise, the way that you would teach, then it's basically the same level of.
It loses that star power.
The star power,
it's like people want to be coached by Sonny, but even if you use an analogy of cars, for example, right? There's a base model car, and then there's a next model up, and then there's the higher model, right? Like Mercedes will always give you the base model, but if you want the AMG, it's going to cost you
more,
often double, literally double or two and a half times the price of the base model.
Yeah, but this is the world that we live in now. People are so accustomed to this. They understand, if they want to get into bed with a good coach online, that it's going to come at a price, And it's changed so drastically, and it changes year on year about, the way that we can market, the way that we can sell, the types of people that are coming onto the program. Notoriously now, I reckon half the people that I service at the top end are actually coaches. Yeah. And as
it's
much
changed. I saw your live last week, and a lot of people are now industry. Right? Yeah. And traditionally there's been, I don't know about weightlifting, but I know CrossFit's a little bit more of an inclusive community, but coaches often don't want to publicize the fact that they are being coached, because then they're not seen as a point of authority. No. Right. But I think that kind of vulnerability these days actually shows that coach cares about their people, because they're broadening their horizons to learn from other people, right?
Everyone has to do it now, and the minute you stop learning, it's going to really impact your business. I spend an hour of every week where I'm trying to reach out to someone who has more knowledge than me in a particular area in order to grow and to learn, and you have to be open and susceptible to that. And if, there's a lot of people out there that are in facilities where their coaches rule with an iron fist and it's my way or the highway. Yeah. But, from everything that I've learned traveling and working under so many different coaches, so many authorities, it's about taking a little bit from every single one of them and creating what you feel is a collective of everyone's knowledge. But at the end of the day, it comes down to nowadays is how you deliver it as well. There's probably people out there in the world that have more knowledge than me from a scientific standpoint on bar path, kinematics, and weightlifting. But if you can't deliver your services in a way that people can understand, it's useless.
Or relate to you.
Yeah. And that's where, I'd succeed over many of my peers, because the way in which I deliver my knowledge is in an easy, understandable way, which is what people want. Yeah. People want to be able to, when they're getting direction, completely understand what they're being taught. And that's a skill in itself.
Like you said, trying to make it super clear over a technical platform, over online, must be so hard, because it's such a movement-based thing, obviously weightlifting. Yeah. How have you used technology and the resources you have to make it more easier to understand?
Yeah, so one of the things I guess that progressed for me from first of all starting out was selling the PDF programs, that's great because it's got numbers, and anyone that understands how to read a program can go in there and interpretate the numbers. But one thing that we wanted to really add was the video side of things to actually explain stuff and give people video tuition and direction, which we first started delivering through a WordPress platform, which is what most people do because it's the most affordable thing to do. But you very quickly get in that catch-22 then, a year on, when we had 10,000 people on there, where that platform is no longer going to suffice to service that many people. And Facebook's great to build community and get video feedback, but when you've got 10,000 people putting a video in there each day, how can you possibly serve that? Yeah. And that's where you get, as a online fitness business, it's that jump now. Do I go to an application, or do we just stay here and be happy with what we're doing? And that's a huge cost for a business.
Yeah,
and
massive. Yeah.
That's one of the things that took me a long time to appreciate, that in order to go from doing hundreds of thousands to millions, you have to take that leap.
How far away is your app? I know you've been working on that in the background. How far is that from launching now?
Yeah, well, it should be launching end of the year, probably November time. But that's crazy because, that's kind of a big part of how we met when I first started filming the mobility manual. Yeah. People don't appreciate that, things start shit. And I'm not scared to say that. I filmed that program on my iPhone,
like this
on a
podcast,
gym floor. Right? Yeah, but you know what I mean? It was crap when it started. Yeah. And, so many people get to that point where they have a good idea or they want to do something. They don't, because they're too fearful of it being shit or people thinking it's crap. But, I started that 2 years ago, and now it's by far our highest selling product.
Wow.
And in the space of 2 years, we separated out the mobility manual into its own product just 6 months ago. So now the mobility manual is its own business. And instead of it just being mobility for weightlifting, now we're going to diversify into other sports. But like I said, that started from something simple.
It's at the age old kind of, without being a inspirational podcast, it's that making sure that you get progress over trying to chase perfection, because so many people stop. I was actually talking to Ellen last night about this, and we talk about this a lot when we catch up personally as well, is we live in an age now where people think that they can do anything, which is true, but what sparked the conversation with Ellen last night was all these people are starting, online programs, doing outdoor training, whatever it may be. Very much yesterday's conversation about in the fitness industry, anyone can start a Wix and then start a Shopify. Anyone can do that, right? Anyone can sell on Amazon. Like right now, Grace could go look at, blue and pink rubber bracelets, and she's got an Amazon store probably drop shipped by the end of today, right? It's that consistency, right? When I remember giving you the keys to Ion and you were filming every fucking night. Yeah. Every night you were filming, right, by yourself on an iPod. I remember not an iPhone. You went and bought the Sonny, and you borrowed my tripod,
mics,
right, and my mics, and it was like you were just filming the background. While there were sessions on.
Yeah.
If people watch back the mobility manual stuff, you can see the session, you can hear it in the background, right? Yeah. And that's kind of now transpired to a business that I don't know how much money you're making. It's none of our business, but you're comfortable, right? But that really did start in 2018, and we're more than halfway through 2021.
So
right?
Yeah, in a short space of time. So
and the app, you're going to be dropping over $100,000.
Yeah, we're already at 100 grand
right?
pounds. So.
People just think
my gosh.
right, 100,000 pounds. I see, the stuff that you talk about. How many people are behind the scenes developing an app, and then and that's business. And we're here to talk about business as part of this podcast. Is all that money that you've made? No, not all of it, but a large proportion of that money that you've made since Mobility Manual 1.0. You're now rolling another 100,000 pounds into an app, praying to God.
It goes,
you believe in that it works, and if it doesn't, you could rest on your laurels and very much just sit there right now and be like, I'll just keep doing what I do now, right?
I think, for me, with this in the app, this probably won't be the first app that I do, and it probably, it won't be the last either. But I think regardless of the outcome of the app, when I look at the reason why we're doing it, yes, it's to provide a better service than what we currently do with the product that we sell. So, for me, if anything else, we don't make any more money, but we provide a better service than what we're currently doing now, which we will do with the high quality videos, the functionality of the app, then great. That's a step in the right direction, and I would have learned a lot from this process. And that's so much about what we do day to day in business. It's about learning and just trying to make small progress in each area. Mm-hmm. So many things will fucking fail before something good happens.
That's right.
And I'm always open to that happening as long as there's a lesson to be learned in the failure.
And I've been talking to Grace about doing this podcast for the best part of at least over a year now. And I said, if we don't start, we're just not going to do it. We just never do it. And I don't really, I don't care. Like, I don't talk about haters, right? Because I say, unless you're like uber successful, you probably don't have haters. It's probably in your own head, right?
Yeah.
But it's like people say, aren't you? I've literally had people ask me, aren't you scared that no one will listen to it? So I don't give a fuck. I like the sound of my own voice anyway. I've listened to our own one probably 6 or 7 times since last week. Yeah. I don't care. At least I'm doing it because ultimately what I say back to people is, I've done a podcast. Have you?
Yeah. I think the thing for me is with podcasts, with anything, with people that put out anything for education online, all you focus on is helping one person. Like I'd probably give out information to 350,000 people each day.
Yeah.
Or more than that now. But all that I think about when I post that one thing is if this can help one person, then great. If it can help more than that, brilliant. It's the same with this podcast. If one person can listen to this and learn something,
correct,
then great. And I think anyone that's looking to start up a business or work online, that's all their focus should be. But unfortunately, with the way that social media is now, we're intimidated by our peers and how successful they are.
It's that fear of failure,
yeah.
Right? It's overthinking.
Paralyzes you to actually do things yourself.
And that's social media. It's like it can expose you to the world in terms of giving you unlimited success, but also it can be your worst enemy, like that fear of failure in front of your peers.
Yeah, you choose to kind of curate your content and what you see every day when you scroll, right? And I think a lot of people are trapped in that world where it's like social media is slowly, which is a big part of the reason why I wanted to start the podcast, right? It's like how many times you've heard another podcast, and it's like, well, yeah, why not me then?
Yeah, exactly. Right? But ultimately, like you have got to have a point of difference in what you do. You can make money doing anything, but you have to have a point of difference from someone else. And I think as long as you stay true to that uniqueness in what you do, like people stop because they go, well, I don't want to set up a mobility product because Sonny's already got one that's doing really well. But there's so much space in so many different industries and different markets that we could all sell hats and all make shitloads of money because there's different people are going to buy a hat from you.
Scarcity or abundance, right? It's which kind of world. It's not like living in this kind of hippity world where it's like, rainbows and unicorns, but it's understanding that you can give it a go. You can't not see things through. I think that's a big one. I think you would have had many a day or night where you've been like, why am I bothering with this mobility manual thing, right? Like, I'm here, then you didn't really need to refilm with Adam was that this year or last year? That was this year, wasn't it? Yeah. Refilming, 30 days straight of mobility manual. You didn't really need to, right? That cost money, would have cost you money to produce, set up the set and all that kind of stuff. And that's just constantly chasing, I'm not going to say chasing greatness, but, just get a little bit better.
Just
improve it. Just improve it a little bit better, right? And
you've got to, because I think the minute you sit on your laurels that's when,
starts going downhill from there.
You start going downhill and you see it. Like, we get comfortable. You get comfortable seeing a certain amount of money come in each month and you go, this is great. I don't need to work any harder.
Correct.
And the minute you get into that state where you're happy with seeing what you're doing, then...
Yeah, it was like the agency. It's literally like ASTUTE, right? The agency, right? So me and Grace were pretty comfortable last year. Started in, pretty much mid to late 2019. And then last year we were just in a little office. And then I was like, it's pretty comfortable, but where to from here?
Yeah.
Right? And then we made the decision, get a bigger office, start hiring some staff. And one thing leads to another. And right now I'm still paying for that, right? It's like you're still paying for it. You don't need to pay for it. Like these mics, this podcast costs thousands of dollars to set up. Yeah. You don't need to do that, right?
But that in itself is scary, isn't it? Like for me, I have 15 members of staff now. Like that's
you started nowhere.
I didn't realize there was so many staff members you had.
But it was just... Asked me 2 years ago, it was just me, my laptop, and I had some help.
Yeah, it was me and you sitting there. I remember me and you were sitting at the Hyatt in the cafe, in the Park Hyatt at the cafe working, and I was working on my first pitch for ASTUTE.
Yeah.
I can't remember what you were doing, but it was something obviously with the academy or filming something or trying to collab with someone. And you kind of just every day, it's like, yes, you need to have, people talk about like a vision, right? You need to have a vision of kind of where you're headed, but you need to also understand that vision will change. It will guaranteed change in 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. And, on your point where when you're doing something, you have to have that deeper reason. I was talking to Tom, our producer for this podcast. He was saying, if nothing else, this is going to document your journey with Grace at the agency. I was like, fuck, that's enough. That's good. I can watch this back in 5 years when the agency's gone broke or the agency's worth $13 million. Regardless, it's going to be a documented journey. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So people think, oh, who are you doing this from? Like, myself. And anyone wants to come on for the journey with us to go for that ride, tune in. But if you
Jump
don't,
on.
like, that's fine, right? And then, so you've been busy with obviously the academy, the weightlifting side of things, but there's also Big Friday Supplies.
Yeah, my COVID baby.
Which is the COVID baby,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like the equivalent to my Blue Magic, right? My cleaning business.
Yeah.
So it's a COVID baby, right? So why Blue Friday? Why Big Friday Supplies and why apparel? I know you love that kind of stuff, but tell the audience, your thing about cool threads and kind of that culture.
Yeah, I think for me, like, one of the biggest things as a weightlifter was never getting the opportunity to express your personality through what you wear. As a weightlifter, when I first started, there was option of 2 different weightlifting shoes you could buy. There was an option
Nike
of
Roms and the Addy Powers.
that was it. There was 2 weightlifting suits that you could buy: the Adidas one or the Adidas one, pretty much, just in a different color. And you get 6 seconds on that platform to express who you are. And you walk out there in the same lifting suits and the same lifting shoes as anyone else. You can't tell 2 people apart.
Yeah.
And like, my thing was always that I'd like to express my personality and who I am through what I wear. And that naturally for me was why I used to wear a snapback when I would lift, or crazy bright leggings or whatever. It was my way of showing people in the 2 seconds that they had to interact with me who I was and a bit about me.
Yep.
And that was taken the wrong way at the start by a lot of the weightlifting community as well, because it seemed like I was making fun of like what is an old school sport in wearing what I wanted. Yeah, traditional.
You can't put your foot on the bar and all that kind of stuff.
But I was kind of like, you know what, this is me, and it's time for change. And that's why for me, I've always wanted to start a clothing brand.
Your profile photo on social media is you've got a red cap on backwards, right?
Yeah,
No
at the Olympics.
No one else did that.
No one
That's
had
on the
ever done
Olympic-
that.
That's on the Olympic platform, right?
But for me, it was exactly that. It was wanting to be able to express myself. So I'd always wanted to do a clothing line, and when COVID came around, it was the perfect opportunity when I was sat in one place to actually get stuck into it. And I knew nothing. I'm a terrible drawer. I'm a terrible graphic designer. There's so many things within that industry that you need to be good at that I'm shit at. But for me, I was just like, I'm going to learn, and some things are going to work and some things aren't going to work. And the whole thing for me with Big Fry Supplies has been like, it makes me want to pull my hair out every morning sometimes. And I think, like you said, why the fuck am I doing this? Yeah. But it's
that's
also...
That's what makes you tick. That rush, whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you say you hate it or you love it, that ultimately is the kind of stuff that literally keeps you alive.
What are the things that make you want to pull your hair out? Like, what specifically?
Logistics?
So
Logistics is a big thing. I think, one of the hardest things with running an apparel or clothing line online is manufacturing, getting stuff made to the standards that you want, delivering a service to the standard that you want. And, for me, the clothing line, Big Fry Supplies, is a direct representation of who I am. So I take that extremely personally when things aren't done to the standard that I want. But you've
carried that across, but I think one thing, while we can address it, is a lot of people would assume, obviously you're more hardcore fans and followers know otherwise, because they see your, behind the scenes, your stories and that kind of stuff. But a lot of people would have thought that you were just buying, like in Sydney, we're never going to get sponsored by these guys now, like AS Colour, just buying a T-shirt and, just getting into a local screen printer and just putting your logo on.
Anyone can do that. And that's where it differs from, from what I would say the difference between merch and a clothing line.
Correct.
And that's why, for me, it's not easy to start with to go down that route, but to have a point of difference, you kind of need to.
Right?
It's expensive. It's a lot of back and forth. It's not like when you used to be able to fly to China and then go to a production hall and be able to be like, yeah, like that. Yep. Want these tweak changes, and it's done.
Especially when it's a COVID baby.
Online, it's so much different now. But one of the big things with what I wanted to do with Big Fry Supplies was kind of take people on a journey with everything that we do. And we spend a lot of money on the production with Adam in telling a story with what we do. Everything that we release each time we do a capsule is there's a limited number of things, and once it's sold out, it's sold out. And for me, like with everything that I like to wear, I like the things that people can't just run into a shop and buy.
Yes.
And I think for me, that's exclusive, excites me. And I wanted to bring that kind of streetwear ethos into what I do with my sportswear stuff for weightlifting and CrossFit, was to have that exclusivity. But trying to explain to someone who doesn't understand like hype or releases or capsules that once that t-shirt's gone, you can't get it again. It's takes people a while to understand that, but at the same time, it's a really exciting feeling to be able to give to people that when they log on to the website and they get their t-shirt, they're one of a very special few people that will get that.
Yeah.
And it's taken people a while to understand it, but they're starting to get it now. And that's been really fun to kind of do that to my audience and kind of share my passion with them around hype and the clothing.
Because a lot of people don't understand that subculture, right?
No, not at all.
I try to explain, because you and I are very similar in that way, but I think Grace just last week saw a new pair of Yeezys get delivered, and they look exactly the same.
Yeah, because they're just black sneakers.
But
Okay,
not the
sneakers.
same. Right? Whereas Sonny understands that the cinders are different too.
They got brown bottoms.
They got
It's like I get it.
they
I
got
know
a
they
gum
look
sole,
different.
right? And why is it that you have to pay $650 for a shoe that at retail was $320?
Yeah.
And people, the naysayers will say to you that but you haven't got that kind of clout, Sonny. You don't. Why do people want your stuff? It's like, well, I'm still selling out.
Yeah.
Mine's the
So there's
opposite.
enough
I would
people.
rather support Sonny with an expensive T-shirt than Kanye and Adidas with
For
some
sure.
sneakers.
But I think it's a cool mixture of both. And I think for you,
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, it'd be really cool for you to see a Big Friday cap on a real limited release, Balenciaga shirt that you can't buy, right? Because it completes the look, and kind of it upscales that brand, your brand, with other brands, right?
Well, yeah, that's one of the things that I think is really important when you're starting out in an apparel brand or a clothing line, full stop, is to associate yourself with brands that you want to be associated with.
Totally, yeah.
And that's where a lot of people fall down, I think, because they try and hold their own identity as like, we don't want to associate with any other brand because we don't want to boost or help someone else.
That's right.
But for me, it's about associating with other brands, wearing Big Friday supplies with other great brands that align with my same ethos of Big Friday supplies in order to actually bring Big Friday supplies up. Because you can piggyback that just purely by association, because we are so conditioned now. As soon as you see a pair of Jordans with a certain type of Nike short, you'd be like, yeah, well, those Nike shorts are sick, they must be. Or, just by association with brands. So I think that's been something that's really important with Big Friday supplies as well, to kind of dress up the stuff that we do with other brands.
Describe to us the ideal, put you in the hot seat, the ideal purchaser of Big Friday. Who are they? What do they look like? What do they do? How old are they?
Yeah, so I guess the people that I want to help or to change is the younger Sonnies. A lot of the stuff is affordable for everyone to buy on release. So I'd say the person that I want to see wearing my stuff and changing their
15-year-old walking around weightlifting, right?
Yeah, the people that were in my position 10 years ago that didn't have any opportunity to express themselves. I want to start changing the way that I walk into a CrossFit gym, every man and their dog's wearing the same $10 Rogue T-shirt or Wildlife T-shirt that they bought in the Christmas sale.
Or
and I'm
regionals,
like, I'm like,
yeah.
fuck. But people will buy that or wear that because they want to feel like they belong.
Yes.
And that is
Totally,
purely
yes.
what people do.
That is human nature now. That is that people just want to belong
Yeah.
to something.
But you sign up to your CrossFit gym, you see everyone else in a pair of Metcons in a Rogue T-shirt. You think, fuck, I'm going to
That's
get
what I gotta
that
wear. Yeah.
so that when I go to the gym on Monday for my first
Accepted.
session, I'm accepted.
Remember, I've got a great example of that. When I first started CrossFit back in 2013 or 14, it's a funny story that we'll tell another time, but one of the main protein brands back in the day was Progenex, who have now since been found out to be not putting in what they said they were putting into their products, but that's a different conversation. But anyone that was cool had a Progenex T-shirt. It was either red, white, or black. And I remember at regionals in Wollongong, one of the guys said, "Oh mate, do you want one of these?" Like, fucking oath I want one of those, right? It didn't fit well. It was probably half a size too big. But I was like, man, this is
Cotton too?
just cotton. It was just like a printed shirt.
Nice.
It was actually not even. It wasn't a Progenex branded shirt. It was just
It was
a,
AS
it was,
colour.
it was a blank shirt that they just printed the EPS file onto, right?
So that people feel like they belong.
Correct, because then when I walked in, oh man, that shirt's so cool because Rich Froning was using Progenex, right? I was like, Is that what you want people to identify as a lifter, as a fun lifter? Is that what Big Friday
This
kind
is
of
the
represents?
thing. I want people to have the confidence to walk in there in one of my T-shirts that are notoriously a little bit more out there, a little bit more colourful, and be like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not wearing the same T-shirt as you're wearing, and you can't wear this one because it's
Can't
sold
buy
out.
it.
Yeah. 100%.
And that in itself is like what it's about. If people see someone else in Big Friday suppliers, they're like, oh, fuck, so you were there on the drop. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and
You
it's
were there,
like,
you had the password.
where
right?
did you get that? Oh, you can't get it.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing better than saying that. Where'd you get those trainers from? You can't get them.
Money can't buy. Yeah, the money can't buy thing. I've been talking about
Yeah.
that for years now. The exclusivity. You definitely run a risk because it's harder. Especially
Oh, it's so much harder. We don't have influencers. We don't have people that we're paying to wear our shit. I want people, every one of the people that have already owned something from Big Friday Supplies are our influencers. You know, there are people that are,
Community.
they're our community, and that's what Big Friday Supply is about. And it's so hard as a business owner to be like, fuck, we could just chuck whoever it is, like, you know, a celebrity,
15 grand, 20
15 grand, 20 grand, wear this T-shirt, post it up. Yeah, we would probably make more sales,
Yeah.
but, you know, it kind of, you lose track of what this business is about. And Big Friday Supplies has turned over more than my academy business in its first year than my academy business did in its first 3.
Yeah.
But yet we haven't taken a penny out of Big Friday Supplies.
Because that's what I was going to say was
Insane.
the commercial reality of Big Friday Supplies. Unfortunately, as cool as your story is with, you know, the young Sonny, you know, that pulls at the heartstrings. But the commercial reality is when you're not producing in mass numbers, your
difficult
minimum
to make
order
money.
quantities are hard, right? Like the jumper you were telling me, I can't remember the exact numbers, but, you know, I remember just thinking, fuck, that's a lot of money per unit. Cost price. You told me cost price for the black jumper that you gave me.
Yeah.
I was like, man, if you gave
So high.
if you had 500 of each size in a whole full size run done, you would have made heaps more money, right?
Yeah,
But if you want to make it exclusive, it's a lot harder to make money.
It's not only that as well. One of the things that comes into play with that type of business, which I never knew about or never appreciated before, is the cash flow. You know, if we're putting in an order of stuff to release, you know, we may have to front run 50,000, 100,000 pounds on stock
Pray to God
Yeah.
it sells.
and pray to God it sells. For a lot of people to be able to do that, it's difficult because who's got 50 grand or 100 grand laying around that they can go, yeah, we can leave this in stock. And if it doesn't sell, we're not going to need that money right now.
Yeah.
And the money also to put behind the content to
put
market
behind
it.
the content to market it, anything, you know, and you constantly with a clothing line are left with money in stock.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why it's difficult.
And you want exclusive, you can't do a sale, can you? You have to burn the stock, basically, right?
Well, we're going to be doing our first sale soon on the our first birthday of Big Friday Supplies.
But these are capsules that were a long time ago, right?
Yeah, we're just releasing a certain amount of things that we're going to put on sale, just more for to pay back to our people who already buy.
Yeah.
As a little thank
archive
you.
sale.
Yeah, because I think it's hard for if people enter your brand now and they see something that was available 6 months ago, they're like, fuck, I didn't know about this brand then. So the archive sale will be an opportunity for people to just try and get hold of some of the stuff that was limited before. So
Sick. Did you always want it to be a streetwear brand, or did you ever have, did you ever want it to be activewear, like leggings, sports bras, that kind of stuff?
I think it's something that we're going to move into doing. But I had this revelation last week, whereas it's like there's so many brands now that will go out and try and reproduce a Lululemon legging or, a Gymshark legging. No one in their right mind going into a shop and they see the Gymshark product and a knockoff version of the Gymshark product with a different logo they have no relation to are going to buy that over that.
Unless
Yeah.
it's significantly cheaper.
But so
Same
many
quality too.
Correct.
but so many people go out and try and reproduce when it comes to activewear the same as what's already great out
We hear
there.
that all the time.
Yeah.
Whenever I've kind of consulted to start up activewear brands, like the first thing they say to me, "Oh, it comes out of the same factory as Lululemon." I'm like, well, fuck, you're already fucked. Like you've just ripped something off.
I know,
right?
but that's what people go to
and
try
it's
and
not,
do.
for the record, it's never the same as Lululemon.
No, it's not.
Because Lululemon, if you actually know, and we know the background of Lululemon, is that their products, literally the fabrics, I think a lot of it comes out of Taiwan. And
Are
the
made
pattern,
just for
it's just for them.
Lululemon.
So
Yeah.
you're already talking shit. Your supplier in China, your manufacturer is already lying to you because sure, they can sew in the same pattern. They can kind of copy
the
the
same
paneling. Because what they do is they obviously buy it, they deconstruct it, and they reconstruct it, right? But those, don't tell me that it's new. What's it called, Nulu and Nulon? Those things, they only make so many meters of it, and then they sew it, and then that's it.
But
right?
this is the thing as well. It gets to the point where you can have those two products and people aren't buying into the product anymore. It's the logo. They want to say, I wear fucking Lululemon. You know,
Correct.
I'm rich.
That little circle.
You know what I mean?
That
They
little
know
reflective
you've
circle.
dropped
Right?
150 on those pair of leggings. It's more than that to people now. And with what we're going to do with the active wear of Big Fry's Supply, some of the more lycra orientated products, it's not going to look like a Lululemon item. It's going to have my same design ideas in terms of being quite wacky out there in colors and prints, and so that people will go out there and buy it. And you know, we look back at the success of some of the drops that we've done previously. Our actual worst drop was probably the black drop that we did.
No way.
Only Vincent thinks that's cool. That's why.
Yeah, but
Funny,
but everyone's got a black
Too small.
t-shirt.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a black t-shirt in your cupboard that you really like, are you going to rush out there to buy another black t-shirt? Probably
Correct.
not.
And I would never buy, for me personally, you know that I would never buy the you know, that sand one you dropped the most recent capsule, or any of the stuff that's pink or purple or the pastels. But that's because I'm not your target market. Right? I'm not,
but
right?
there will be people that will go out there and will buy a lilac t-shirt because they've never had one before.
They want to express their personality. It's different. Right?
And that's what you've always got to be mindful of. You're never going to please everyone. Like when I
messaged you the other day about because you did teaser for the black but with the pops of pink.
Yeah.
Right. That I have a personal affinity with that because one of our brand colors for the agency is that hot pink on black.
Yeah.
Right. But that's only one person. So what is the mass of your followers and fans? What's their personality? And obviously, if you're selling out capsule after capsule, except the black on black, that just says that the people want to express their personality, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I keep reminding myself, and I'm fortunate enough that we can do this, but I've got to stay true to me and what I like and my designs, the colors that I like, and people will buy into that. And it's so hard to get caught in the trap of trying to please too many people, and ultimately you're not gonna get the same feeling or excitement that you get out of creating something. Like for me, some of the happiest moments I've had over the last few days has been sat down with Callum creating new designs, and when something pops or works, I'm like, yes, that's sick. And that gives me such a buzz that I don't get from any other side of my business that I do.
Whereas you could just bring in a fashion consultant that says, hey, this is trending at the moment. Yeah. You know,
and off you go,
slap jerk your ice cream garnet, and then that's it, right? That's the easy way to do it. But I think if you're trying to talk to, it's the old saying of if you're trying to talk to everyone, you're not talking to anyone, right?
Yeah. But it's also for me in that side of my business, the enjoyment is in the creativity and, you know, the failing and the learning. That's what gets me out of bed at the moment, is doing that, and I get a lot of fulfillment out of that. And I think people forget that as great as making money is, great as growing with fame or popularity, ultimately it all comes down to actually feeling fulfilled in what you do each day.
Purpose.
And having a purpose.
How does your passion about like social media and content come through with the campaigns you run, the launches, the videos, stuff you do with Adam?
Yeah, so Adam is an incredible creative mind. Like his vision with what he wants to do with things is incredible. So I do like to leave a lot of that down to him. But the whole idea with what we do with the drops is to try and tell a story in the video. So when we did the desert drop, the vision was that I was walking through the desert to try and find this elusive gym to do a session. And I get dehydrated, hallucinate, and then all of a sudden, like, the gym appears, and I do this big session with them, and then the weights drop, and everyone disappears, and it leaves that thought process: was it hallucination, or were they really there?
Wicked.
So that was really cool. And then at the end of that video, there was a particular T-shirt in the drop that had a QR code on the back of it, and it looked like a ticket. And at the end of the video, I'm there in the desert, and the start of the next video will be it going to dark, and that's like my ticket to space. So then the next theme for Big Fry Supplies is all space.
Cool.
So they'll lead into each
that.
other, and then after the space drop, there's like the next theme is like pharmaceutical, because they'll find like a medical kit in space. So they'll kind of continually lead into each other, because I think like that's so important nowadays, is telling a story. And you know, that's what people really want. They want to be along for the ride. And you know, I think Big Fry Supplies have never been as successful as it has been had I not shown people the scribbles in my diary, the fuck ups I made, like every step of the process, because people are invested in that just as much as they are the product. And
what the thread count of the T-shirt is, or how thick it is, or how thin it is, or no one cares about that kind of stuff, because it's all same. Right?
Yeah.
And that's funny. You talk about how different campaigns speak to different people, but I found the that black drop super cool because that was Chinatown, going to get noodles with your friends, hanging out, having a good time at night.
Yeah.
It's always, your content is always going to speak to different people in different ways.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of it's literally what we're talking about experimenting, failing and learning, because that you can do all those cool kind of, Chinatown noodles with your friends, having a beer with your friend. But obviously from a sales perspective, Shopify is showing a very different outcome. Right? And it's kind of refining that niche drop after drop and praying to God that each drop sells enough to roll into the next drop, right?
Take you to space.
Yeah. So,
could you actually remind me all the little logos that you have on each of the t-shirts and the ice cream man? It's like, what's the meaning behind the little ice cream?
Yeah. So for me, the ice cream in itself is like a treat. It's something that everyone, doesn't matter what your preference is, will associate ice cream as fun, exciting. It's your treat. So that's why the ice cream logo became like the main one. Mm-hmm. But the up and down arrow that features in our 4 icons relates to, in a weightlifting competition, there's up and down signals when you make a good lift. So you're told when to put the bar down, so that's what the up and down arrow means: lifting up, put it down. And then there's the collar, which goes on the end of the bar.
Oh, yeah.
For a weightlifting competition. And then the final one is the hands clapping with the chalk, which is kind of like iconic with Olympic weightlifting.
Wicked.
So
that's 3. You're missing 1.
The ice cream is the last one as well, the 4th. So we have
2, 3 on the back of the t-shirt.
Yeah. So we have the ice cream logo, the up
hands?
and down arrow, hands clapping chalk, and then the bar collar.
Yeah. So there's the hands. Yeah, that's right.
So cool.
So everything that we do has a meaning behind it, and that's what's important. Even with the designs that we do, the things that would come up, like the latest ones that we're just doing at the moment is we've got our straps releasing soon, our lifting straps, and it's like I'm saving my hands is like the final is the t-shirt that's going to drop with it, because that's something that only a weightlifter would say as to why they use straps. They're like, I'm saving my hands, but everyone knows who does weightlifting, wearing straps makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
saving my hands.
It was funny that black jumper that I've got, the Big Friday one that you gave me, was on the right sleeve, because I've got a photo on my Instagram and it says, "Not going to miss you anymore." Yeah. And everyone that doesn't realize that, 1, I'm your friend, and 2, it's a weightlifting brand, they think it's some sort of like emo jumper. But what they don't understand, that if you've ever lifted weights, you understand you miss a lift, right?
Yeah.
You didn't even
that's
realize
news
that, did
to
you?
me.
But that's
But it's
whole
really
thing,
cool. Right?
yeah.
People read that. It's like, and if you're in that subculture, it's like, I'm never going to miss you again.
Yeah.
Because
And
that's
that's the idea. It's about creating something that, if you're a weightlifter, you relate to, but if you don't, it could still be extremely like.
Yeah.
So it's
relatable
definitely going to be
Totally.
thought provoking, if nothing else.
Yeah,
Right?
and it's those little things that make Big Friday what it is, really.
And Big Fridays is the send that used to do that you do every single Friday. Still?
Yeah, so Big Friday for me growing up was a culture around on every Friday you'd go and do your big lifts, and
As in you at the gym that you were training at, that was big day. That was
the big lift
right.
day,
Because the
and-
weekend you'd rest, right?
Yeah, so Big Friday became a thing. You wake up in the morning, you're excited about the big lifts that you've got to do for that day. You get a can of Monster, you get the sweets, you crank the tunes up super loud. You're in there with your friends, you're all going to throw down. It's a feeling, it's not just a name for the brand. It means something to people.
That's wicked.
Yeah, cool.
And knowing what you know now, what would be the lessons that you've learned that you would teach someone who wanted to start their own business today?
Oh, God, I'd say one of the biggest things that I've learned that's made me a better businessman is to reach out and gain help and experience from other people. I was definitely closed off to that. I think investing back into the business to help it grow was something that I wish I'd learned to do far earlier. And finally, working out what your skills are in your business. I've hired a CEO this year, and a lot of people are like, so you're not the director of your own business? No, because I'm not a director, I'm a creative, And I think it's about finding what your time is best spent within your business and not trying to do things that you're not great at. Hire someone who is an expert in that to help your business grow.
What's the next 6 months look like before we get you on again?
Get the app
Let's
finished.
try to predict the future, and then we'll see if you're right, and we'll get you back on in the new year.
So 6 months from now, I've got 1,600 data points to fill out to get the app up and running. So big launch for the app.
Yep.
I think Big Fry's suppliers will be and probably have 2 drops done by then. I'd like to see, there's a few different things that I'm working on with Big Fry suppliers in terms of new product development. So I'd like to see the activewear sort of launched in the next 6 months. And then I think all the energy is going to be going into the launch of the app and hopefully have
that ties in with the academy.
Yeah, so the mobility manual is now its own business.
Yep.
The academy is going to be rebranded away from my name, which will be a big thing as well.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I wanted to take Sonny Webster Academy and change it into, I can't tell you what the name is yet, but something that's not related to my name, because ultimately that business needs to outlive me and Sonny being popular.
Yep.
So to do that, to bring in other athletes and other coaches into there to use that platform to make money as well will be good and service their clients. So that eventually then I'll be sat there with all of my businesses that, although I've created them, have no connection to my name. So for future proofing them will be really important.
Yeah, big decision. You got to separate the ego, right?
So here's a question you didn't expect. When are you going to propose to Lyndall, my friend?
Oh my God.
That's
Dramatic.
Hey!
Wow. He's like, I need some clickbait.
I need something. He's got nothing. Look at him. He's shitting himself.
One day, she knows it's definitely on the cards when the time's right. We've both still got a lot of things we want to achieve before we're ready to slow down and settle down. But yeah,
She's a little bit older than you.
couple of years, yeah.
She's got to wait. She's gonna wait till you hit 30, right? You're
27 now.
Still a baby.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all good. 3 years.
Yeah, maybe before
3
I'm
years.
30.
No, 3 years. If you're all right, that's it. I don't think there's any other questions for you. So thanks for being on the podcast, Sonny.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for having me, guys.
And we'll see you all next time.